All right, thank you so much for moving up. I appreciate that. Again, welcome. We're excited to welcome this, what is it, class of, I should know, my son is a freshman, 2027? Is that correct? Yes, all right. Or, I'm sorry, not a freshman, an eighth grader, a rising freshman. I am, again, Mrs. Harris. I have the last names J through Lon, and I am coming to HSE. I began here in September, and this is my 20th year as a school counselor. I began my school counseling career at Kokomo High School. The last 10 years, I spent in IPS at Shortridge High School in their International Baccalaureate program and made my way here this year. So I'm excited to be a part of HSE.
And my name is Mr. Harney. I've been doing this for 26 years. Came from Ball State. I was across the river at Fishers for about 10 years and then came over here doing the same job, both sides. Looking forward to helping anybody. My alphabet is S through THOL, and I'm sure that'll change. It's changed every year, it seems like, but that is who I am.
So I have just a few slides put together. The QR code will link you to this presentation, so if you want to go back and refer to it, feel free. I have that at the beginning and at the end. I've also included my email as well as Mr. Harney's email. So just beginning with a very rough sample of a freshman schedule. So just a couple of examples. As you can see, both of those schedules have English, math, and science. Those courses will be recommended by your students' current middle school teachers as far as whether they think that they are well suited for an honors level class or a project-based learning biology, so on and so forth. And then in the one on the left, you'll notice a social studies. Social studies is technically optional freshman year. You do not have to take a social studies, either world history or geography. However, if you don't take it freshman year, students have to take it sophomore year because it is a graduation requirement. And then I've added MPE Health, 2D, art and ceramics, French, so language. Many of you will maybe already taking a language at your middle school, may want to begin a language next year. And then the other schedule on the right is maybe a little less rigorous, but includes a lot of elective options to be able to explore and learn more about other academic or elective areas. One thing that I want to highlight and that we really try to emphasize is, is balance. So if you have a really strong academic student, your middle school teachers may be recommending multiple honors classes for your student. It doesn't mean that you have to take all of them. So just keep that in mind. It's about finding that balance. All right, some important things. Again, balance, challenge within reason. So maybe filling that schedule with 4 honors classes may not be the best decision for your students, so evaluating that. Just to reinforce some of the things Mr. Davidson said about the PE, it is required that you have 1 live PE class at some point in time throughout high school. And then those are the summer PE options as well. There are direct links to those registration pages and forms if you choose to access this presentation after. And then that May 1st deadline as well. Just want to emphasize that. Scheduling. So again, just to reinforce some of what Mr. Davidson said, be sure you're entering those course requests in Skyward. We will review those when we meet with your student. And then I've also highlighted just when we plan to be at those junior highs to meet with your students to talk more about their courses and officially get those entered into Skyward. And the last thing I'm going to touch on, and then I'm going to pass along to Mr. Harney, he'll probably have a lot to add, is to get involved. There is something we call the Royal Rumble. It's essentially a freshman orientation. It's scheduled for August 3rd. So it's just an opportunity to learn more about HSC, the opportunities available to students here, how to navigate the building, maybe meet some new students, because 4 different schools merging into one. And then clubs and activities are seriously endless here. There are so many opportunities for students to engage and get involved, and there's a list on the website. So making sure that your student checks that out and gets involved that freshman year.
Okay, so we've given you a lot of PowerPoints to look at this evening and information that we've given you at the door when you came in. The thing that's going to make the whole HSE world work is simply communication, okay? We want you to know what's going on here. We want to know if something's going on outside of here that we can help with. It's a village to make this happen, okay? It's not one against the other and look what I did, look what you did. It's us to get your child where you want them to get to, okay? So if something's going on at home and you feel it might affect what that student's doing at school, give us a call, send us an email, let us know, okay? People are people. We want to help any way we can. If there's an issue going on in a classroom, yes, you can definitely email me or call me, but you want to reach out to the teacher, okay? You want to see what's going on. Teachers are probably best communicated with through an email. If it's a more serious situation than what an email can handle, they'll set up a phone conversation with you so you guys can actually talk it out, okay? But if you have questions, don't let them linger, okay? That only brings on more questions, and then we find out if we would have dealt with it a month ago, none of this would be an issue, okay? So just keep every communication open. If you're unsure if you should talk to the teacher, you're just not sure if you want to bother them, then email me. Ask me that question. I'll be happy to help in any way that I can and encourage you whatever needs to be done, okay? Now, with all the stuff we've given you, the one thing you haven't had a lot of time to do, and I want to give you some time to do it, we do have a guidance table outside for the fair, so you can always go up there. We have counselors sitting there. There's information for you. You can ask questions, but I would like to give you a chance to ask specific questions that you have in your mind. I know this stuff. That's wonderful, but that doesn't help me help you without knowing what your questions are. So does anybody have a specific question about anything HSE related? Yes. Correct. Your periods are seven periods a day. There's really 8. The 8th one is called Pathways. It's your homeroom, okay? No homework in that period. So there's 4 periods a day, blue day and a gray day, and they alternate throughout the school year. Normal thing, 8:30 till 3 is our school day here. I know that's a change from school to school level. So 8:30 to 3. You will have 4 periods every day, okay? If for some reason we have weather days happen, we're going to try to keep the days going, okay? So hopefully in the announcement of a cancellation, it'll tell you what your next school day will be, whether it'll be blue or gray, okay? Good question. Any other questions? Yes? That is correct. We are currently, in our building right now, we only have 2 levels, so ASL 1 and ASL 2. We are trying to bring on board ASL 3 because that way a student can use that to be for their 3 years of language. Right now we're being told it's best, let's do that with sophomores. We just brought 1 and 2 down to sophomores so that hopefully by the time they're a senior, we have number 3 set up. I think once we actually have 3 in our building for a couple of years, then we'll probably open it back up so like Spanish and French and German can all start at the same time. But for right now, since we only have 2 levels for sure, we want to make sure that you maybe start a different language if you really want to do the 2 and 2 option, which is what we used to do all the time. Now we're getting ready to add a 3, but we don't want to put that in there if it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what we could do there, we know for sure that our summer school has ASL 3 sitting in it. So we know we have a summer option for sure. Right now, from what we're being told, we are 90% sure that we're going to bring aboard ASL 3. We've been barking about it long enough that they say, yes, we're going to do that. But they don't want to open it up to the freshmen because we know we got a lot of students on the other end that are going to fill those classes that have been waiting for that to happen. So we want the freshmen to have a sophomore, junior, senior year to make sure that 3 actually gets put where it needs to be. Make sense? Okay. Sure. So for pathways, it will eventually be for like clubs. We actually split our pathways into 2 parts. There's an A and a B. Okay, so the academic portion is where students can get help. If they are struggling in a class, we'll have a program that we call Enriching Students, and they'll learn how to use that in their Pathways class. They can actually sign up if they're having difficulties in math. They can sign up with their math teacher to go there for the first 40 minutes and get some tutoring. And we highly encourage that. It's also a great way that if a student's been absent, ill, something like that, they can go to those teachers and get some help, find out what homework they missed. If it's like a blue day, but their homework was on a gray day, they can get to those teachers ahead of time, those kinds of things. So Pathways will only be on gray days because it's period 8 right now. The other one is Pathways B, clubs. All the clubs that we talk about, we know that some students don't have transportation. They can't get home from school unless they're riding that bus. So we want them to have an opportunity to be in clubs. So that is one thing that we do with that opportunity. So that's kind of what those things are laid out to be. There will be times when that can just be study time. If they don't have a study hall, that might help them as well. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. That's a really good question. Let me clarify I like things to be as simple as possible, okay? So PE, one PE has to be a live class, okay? Regardless of if it's during the school year or if it's during the summer, has to be a live class. One of them has to be live. The live class in the summer right now will cost $135, okay? So if your child is trying to do the live class in the summer and they say it's free, they've signed up for the wrong one, okay? That's the online summer PE, which is free, but that counts as PE number 2, okay? So the live class has to be live. The PE 1 has to be live. That's the one we really need you to get done before your end of your sophomore year, okay? The other PE can be done the same way if they like PE class, or they can do this online in the summer, or if they are an athlete, that's where the alternative PE can come in. So if they look at competitions, so like there'll be club sports that some students are in. Our hockey team, it's not a sport that we sanction, but it's a club sport. They can use that as a thing. So my encouragement to you is if you're unsure if what that activity that they do will count as a sport, reach out to us, okay? We're going to ask you, are there competitions? Is there a practice schedule? Those 2 things are key for that to count as a PE credit, okay? Any other, yes?
Yeah, so middles or the junior high counselors will receive the information about how students can enter their course requests in Skyward. So they'll kind of lay out a timeline of when they would like for those to be entered based on when we plan to be at those schools to meet with those students. And if you just don't fully, understand what you need to follow through with, or just have a lot of questions before those final decisions are made. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you can join that meeting with your student, and we can go through exactly what that would look like. I would say the best thing for you and your student to do prior to that meeting is to have a really good idea and understanding of what elective courses they are interested in taking. Because that's the trickiest part. The core classes are pretty cut and dry. So.
We're told earlier, we will be scheduling like every day. But if you have a scheduling question that you've talked about with your child and you don't know what to do with it, calling us probably won't work because we're going to be sitting with another family or another student, but email will always work, Okay, so I am happy to email any kind of response I can, either on my lunch break or whatever, to give you those answers to the questions. Okay, so your junior highs should be reaching out to you with a day and a time for those meetings to happen with us. They set all that up for us. Okay, any other questions? Yes, parents are invited to that meeting at the junior highs. We encourage you to be there. We want you to be a part of this process so that you can hear everything that we're saying. We know that sometimes things don't always get all the way back home, and we understand that. So we definitely encourage you to be there for that meeting if you can, okay? Any other questions? Yes. So when you first get here, the high school level as freshmen, there's a club. Then that's what we encourage them to do. Obviously, they want to be in social studies right off the bat if they really enjoy that, because we want them to have the room to be in more social studies classes throughout. The sophomore year, where you don't have to have a social studies class, there is a ton of marvelous electives that our social studies department has created. We highly encourage them to be in those. Also in the book, The Law and Government Academy is something that they're going to want to look at because they're probably going to want to be a part of that. And Mrs. Chandler is our teacher of the We the People, and she's also the law and government person. So as a freshman, to keep going in it would be the club. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, so I would encourage you to have conversations at home as far as not just classes, but what do you want to do after high school? Okay, I know it's 4 years. They're going to fly by. I promise you that. So we want to make sure we have an idea of what direction. Does it mean your child can change their mind? Absolutely. They do it all the time, as you know. We will just keep steering them through with classes that make sense for them so that we qualify for graduation and set them up the best we can for college or whatever they want to do in the future. Okay? Any other questions about anything? We have a fair for you outside. There's tons of tables and things for everybody to look at. We encourage you to kind of go through all the tables. There is a lot of information out there. If you do come up with questions and you've already left, please feel free to email me or Mrs. Harris. We'll be happy to get back with you as soon as we can. Okay? Thank you very much for coming tonight.